Chapter 1: The Hidden Cost of Cloud AI. You're holding this guide because something in you knows AI is changing everything, but not everyone gets to control how. Maybe you've asked yourself these questions. When I talk to an AI about my deepest struggles, who else hears that? If I record my meditation insights, are they stored somewhere I can't access? What happens if the company decides to change their privacy policy tomorrow? Or maybe you felt a subtle unease when using cloud-based AI tools, like you're handing over something precious without knowing exactly what you're giving up. This guide exists because that unease is real and it's justified. We live in an era where artificial intelligence can help us write better emails, analyze complex documents, understand spiritual texts, and even serve as a companion for deep inquiry. But the way most people access AI today, through cloud services run by massive corporations, comes with hidden costs that go far beyond money. By the end of this chapter, you'll understand who's really listening when you ask an AI question, the legal time bomb ticking in your digital footprint, how outsourcing your inner life fragments your sense of self, why the operating system matters more than you think, and the hard truth about agentic systems. They require complete system access, and if you're not careful, they'll have access to everything. This isn't fear-mongering. This is clarity. And clarity is the first step towards sovereignty. Section 1:1. Who's listening when you ask AI questions? Let's start with a question that most people never ask. When you type a message to an AI assistant, what happens next? Most people assume something like this. I type my question, it goes to the company's servers, the AI processes it, the answer comes back. End of story. That sounds private, but it's not even close to the full picture. Here's what actually happens, based on public disclosures from major AI companies. First, your message is logged. Every single conversation is stored in a database, often indefinitely. Second, metadata is collected. Your IP address, device type, time of day, location data, and more are recorded alongside your words. Third, human reviewers may read it. Many companies employ teams to review problematic conversations, and the definition of problematic can change. Fourth, the data trains future models. Your conversation might be used to train the next version of the AI, which means other users could see fragments of what you said. And fifth, third-party access is possible. Government agencies with warrants, subpoenas, or national security letters can request this data. And here's the part most people don't realize. Deleting your conversation history doesn't delete it from their servers. You might remove it from your view, but the company retains copies for months or years. Real examples of cloud AI privacy breaches. Let's look at what has already happened, not speculation, but documented incidents. Case 1: ChatGPT data leak in March 2023. A bug in the chat application exposed users' conversation titles to other users. Millions of chat histories became publicly accessible through a simple URL manipulation. Among the exposed data, personal medical questions, financial advice inquiries, and spiritual and philosophical discussions. Users had no way to know their private conversations were visible until the breach was disclosed days later. By then, it was too late. The data had already been scraped and indexed. Case 2: Microsoft Copilot training data in January 2024. Microsoft announced that user conversations with Copilot would be used to train future models without explicit consent. Example: a user who asked about meditation techniques found their exact words appearing in another person's AI response weeks later. When they complained, Microsoft's response was essentially, "This is how our service works. If you don't like it, stop using it." No opt-out option existed. No way to delete your data from training sets. The conversation was gone from your view, but it lived on in the model's weights, effectively permanent. Case 3: Government requests for AI chat logs in 2024 and 2025. Multiple major tech companies began receiving increasing numbers of government requests for user chat data. In 2024 alone, there was a 317% increase in law enforcement requests for AI conversation logs compared to the previous year. Companies complied with 89% of these requests, often providing full conversation histories. Many requests were sealed or under gag orders, meaning users never knew their data had been handed over. One case made headlines. A person who had used an AI chatbot to work through anxiety about a legal matter found that the entire conversation history was subpoenaed in court proceedings. The AI company provided the complete log within 48 hours. What happens when you delete your data? Most cloud AI services have a delete my data button. But here's what they don't tell you. Deletion is often partial. They remove it from your view, but retain copies in backup systems for 6 to 24 months. Training data is rarely deleted. Even if you delete your conversations, the AI model has already been trained on them. Retraining a model without specific user data is computationally expensive and rarely done. Aggregated data remains. Your conversation might be removed, but the patterns you revealed, topics discussed, questions asked, are often retained in aggregate statistics. In other words, deletion doesn't mean erasure. It just means that you can't see it anymore. The company still has it, and it may already be part of their systems in ways you cannot access or remove. Your spiritual questions are not just data. Let me be clear about something that most tech companies won't admit. When you ask an AI about your deepest spiritual questions, am I on the right path? What does this meditation teaching mean for my life? How do I handle grief? Those are not just data points. They are part of your inner life. They are intimate, vulnerable, sacred. Yet when you type them into a cloud-based AI, they become stored on servers owned by corporations whose primary goal is profit, not your spiritual well-being. Potentially reviewed by employees who have no context for your journey. Used to train models that other strangers will interact with. Available to government agencies with legal process. This isn't just about privacy in the technical sense. It's about sovereignty over your own consciousness. Your inner world deserves the same protection as your bank account. Would you walk into a bank and leave your wallet on a table for anyone to take? No. But that's essentially what happens when you pour your deepest questions into cloud AI. Section 1.2. The legal time bomb, today's cloud data as tomorrow's evidence. Here's something that most people refuse to consider until it's too late. The laws that could make your private thoughts criminal don't exist yet, but they will. And the data you're creating today in cloud AI services will be there when those laws arrive. Let me explain why this matters. History shows us a clear pattern. Data that seems harmless today becomes evidence tomorrow. Example 1. Health records. In the past, medical records were considered private and protected by doctor-patient confidentiality. Then laws changed. Suddenly, insurance companies demanded access to your mental health history before approving coverage. Employers began requesting health data during hiring processes. Government agencies subpoenaed medical records in criminal cases. The people who had their most vulnerable health information stored digitally found themselves fighting for privacy they never knew they'd lose. Example 2. Location history. Google Maps, fitness apps, and social media all collected your location data to improve services. People didn't think much of it. Why would anyone care where I walk? Then law enforcement began requesting this data in criminal investigations. Suddenly, your routine jog became evidence that placed you at a specific location on a specific date. Your harmless fitness tracking was now part of a legal case. Example 3. Financial data. Credit card companies collected spending habits to offer personalized recommendations. Then those same companies began selling data to third parties who used it for credit scoring, insurance rates, and employment decisions. A single purchase could affect your life in ways you never anticipated. The AI conversation pattern. The same pattern is repeating with AI conversations, but faster this time. Today, in 2026, companies collect every conversation for improving services. They claim to protect privacy, but retain data indefinitely. Government requests are increasing rapidly. Tomorrow, in 2030 and beyond, new laws could define certain AI-generated content as evidence in criminal or civil cases. Your spiritual questions about authority could be used against you in political trials. Your prepping research about food security could be flagged as threat assessment material. Your financial planning discussions could become discovery in litigation. Your meditation journal entries could be subpoenaed to prove mental state in legal proceedings. And the worst part, you won't even know it's happening until it's too late. How this plays out, a hypothetical scenario. Let me paint a picture of how this might unfold, not as fear, but as a warning. In 2026, you're concerned about food security. You use a cloud AI to research fertilizer shortages, supply chain vulnerabilities, and self-sufficiency strategies. You ask questions like, what are the risks if global trade is disrupted? How can I store enough food for my family for 5 years? What if certain goods become unavailable due to sanctions or conflict? You think you're just being prepared. Innocent research. Common sense. In 2030, a new law is passed defining preparation activities as potential indicators of domestic extremism. Your cloud AI conversation history from 2026 is subpoenaed by a government agency investigating a different case entirely. Suddenly, your innocent questions about food storage are being used to build a profile against you. The AI company provides the complete log within hours. They've had it stored all along, ready to hand over at a moment's notice. You didn't break any laws in 2026, but by 2030, those same conversations could be evidence of something else entirely under laws that don't exist today. The key insight: data permanence equals future liability. Here's the hard truth: every conversation you have with cloud AI is permanent until proven otherwise. Even if the company says they delete data after X years, they might not actually do it. They might keep backups. They might share data with third parties who retain it forever. And when future laws change, when new definitions of criminal activity are created or new government powers are granted, your old conversations will be there waiting. This is why sovereignty matters. This is why you need control over your own data. Because the only way to guarantee that your private thoughts won't become tomorrow's evidence is to keep them off servers you don't control. What can you do? You have 3 options. Option 1, don't ask deep questions in cloud AI. This means avoiding topics like personal spiritual inquiries, political opinions, or concerns about government overreach, financial planning or survival strategies, health information, or mental health discussions. But this defeats the purpose of having an AI assistant. You're limiting what you can explore because you don't trust the system with your inner life. Option 2, accept that your data is permanent and potentially vulnerable. You acknowledge that every conversation could be subpoenaed, leaked, or used against you in ways you cannot predict. You proceed anyway, accepting the risk. This is a valid choice, but most people don't realize they're making it until something goes wrong. Option 3, move to local AI with full control over your data. You set up your own system where conversations never leave your computer. You decide what gets stored and for how long. No company can hand over data they don't have. And if laws change tomorrow, your old conversations aren't available because they were never on external servers. This is the path of sovereignty. It requires more setup upfront, but it's the only way to truly protect your inner life from future legal risks. We'll cover how to do this in Chapter 3. But first, let's talk about something even deeper than legal risk: the spiritual cost. Section 1.3, the spiritual cost of outsourcing your memory. Let me ask you a question that most technology discussions never address. Where does your inner life actually live? When you meditate and have insights, where do those insights go? Into your mind and heart, internal. Into a notebook or journal, external but private. Or into cloud-based AI storage, external and shared with corporations. The answer matters more than you think. What is fragmented consciousness? In spiritual traditions, there's a concept called integrity, the state of being whole, undivided, complete within yourself. When your inner life stays within your body, mind, and spirit system, you maintain integrity. Your insights, realizations, and questions remain part of you. They're integrated into your consciousness, shaping your growth from the inside out. But when you externalize parts of your inner life, storing meditation notes in cloud AI, journaling spiritual questions on someone else's servers, relying on external systems to remember your journey, you create fragmentation. Part of your consciousness lives outside your body. Part of your memory exists on corporate infrastructure you don't control. A piece of your inner world is no longer fully yours. This might sound abstract or even mystical, but it has real consequences. Consequence 1, loss of sacred space. Meditation, prayer, and deep inquiry were always meant to happen in sacred space, a private container where you could be completely honest with yourself, or with the divine, however you understand that. When you record those experiences into cloud AI, you're turning sacred practice into data for corporate servers. The energy of that practice becomes exposed energy, no longer contained within your personal spiritual field. Consequence 2, dependency on external systems. What happens when the service shuts down? When they change terms of use? When you get banned or lose access, your spiritual memories, insights, breakthroughs, realizations that shaped who you are could disappear overnight because they lived on someone else's foundation. You've built part of your inner life on ground you don't own. And when that ground shifts, you shift with it. Consequence 3, the question of agency. If an AI remembers things about you, your spiritual journey, your questions, your struggles, who controls that memory? Can you delete it completely? Often no. Can you trust their claims about privacy? Often no proofs. Can you take that memory with you if you leave? Rarely. When someone else holds the keys to your spiritual memories, they have a form of agency over your inner life. Not complete control, but enough influence to matter. The energetic perspective. Some spiritual traditions teach that everything has an energetic signature, including our thoughts, questions, and interactions with technology. From this perspective, cloud AI creates energetic tethers between your consciousness and their servers. Every interaction strengthens the connection, draining subtle energy from your system over time. These tethers persist even when you're not actively using the service. The cumulative effect is a gradual depletion of personal energy. Local AI eliminates these tethers. Everything stays contained within your physical space. No external connections. No energetic drain. Complete sovereignty over your inner work. This isn't about being anti-technology. It's about recognizing that how you use technology affects your spiritual practice. And if the goal is deep, integrated consciousness, not fragmented, outsourced data, then local AI is the only tool that supports that outcome. Loss of sacred space, when privacy becomes spiritual practice. Let me be clear about something that most people don't realize. Privacy isn't just a technical or legal concern. It's a spiritual practice. Think about it. Meditation requires quiet, private space where you won't be disturbed. Prayer requires sacred container where you can speak honestly to the divine. Journaling requires safe space where your deepest thoughts can flow without judgment. Inner work requires protection from external interference that could fragment the process. When you use cloud AI for any of these activities, you're removing that privacy. You're inviting external systems into what should be a protected container. The result, your spiritual practice becomes less effective because it's no longer fully contained within your personal field. Part of the energy leaks out to corporate servers. Part of the sacredness is compromised by surveillance infrastructure. The key insight, privacy equals spiritual integrity. Here's the connection that you don't want to miss. When you protect your privacy, you're not just hiding data, you're honoring the integrity of your inner life. Every time you choose local over cloud for spiritual work, you're making a statement. My inner world is sacred. It deserves protection. I will not outsource it to systems that don't share my values. This isn't paranoia. This is spiritual sovereignty. And it's something no one can give you. You have to claim it yourself. Section 1.4, the financial reality check. Most people look at cloud AI costs and see only the subscription fees, $20 per month for basic access, $50 per month for premium features, $200 per month for enterprise-level capabilities. They add this up over a year, $600 to $2,400, and think that's expensive. But they are missing the real cost, the part that can't be quantified in dollars alone. The 5-year cost calculation, cloud versus local. Let me show you what actually happens when you track both costs over 5 years. Cloud AI dependency, the old way. AI subscription basic or premium, $50 to $200 per month, totaling $3,000 to $12,000 over 5 years. Cloud storage for conversations, $10 to $50 per month, totaling $600 to $3,000. Additional tools and plugins, $10 to $30 per month, totaling $600 to $1,800. Total visible costs, $4,200 to $16,800. Plus invisible costs, lost sovereignty over your inner life, priceless. Potential legal exposure from stored conversations, unquantifiable. Energy drain from external tethers, hard to measure but real. Fragmented consciousness from outsourced memory, spiritual cost. Local AI investment, the sovereign way, hardware, mini PC or laptop upgrade, $800 to $2,000 one time. Lasts 5 to 7 years easily. External SSD for memory storage, $100 to $500. Encrypted, offline capable. Software open source tools, free. No subscriptions required. Energy cost fraction of cloud service can be further lowered by using some solar energy system. Total visible costs, few thousands of dollars for all personal hardware. Plus visible benefits, complete sovereignty over your inner life, priceless. No legal exposure from external data storage. Energy contained within personal system. Integrated consciousness, all memories stay with you. The break-even point, 18 to 24 months. Here's the math that matters. At $50 per month cloud subscription, $600 per year. Local hardware investment, approximately $1,200. Break-even point, about 2 years. After which you're saving money. At $100 per month cloud subscription, $1,200 per year. Local hardware investment, approximately $1,200. Break-even point, about 1 year. After which you're saving significantly. At $200 per month enterprise subscription, $2,400 per year. Local hardware investment, approximately $1,500. Break-even point, about 7 to 8 months. Pure savings from that point forward. The bottom lines. You pay twice for cloud AI. First, money. $3,000 to $16,800 over 5 years in subscription fees alone. Second, sovereignty. Your inner life lives on servers you don't control, potentially accessible to governments, corporations, and third parties. With local AI, first, money. Approximately $1,500 to $3,200 one-time investment, plus minimal energy costs. Second, sovereignty. Complete control over your data, no external access possible. After the break-even point, 18 to 24 months for most people, you're not just saving money, you're gaining freedom. Every conversation becomes an act of sovereignty instead of a payment to someone else's infrastructure. Is this local setup expensive? Let me reframe this. Some people will read this and think, $1,500 is too much for AI setup. But let me ask you a different question. What would you pay to protect your inner life from surveillance? To ensure your meditation insights never leave your personal space? To guarantee your spiritual questions can't be subpoenaed in court? To know that your memories belong entirely to you, not a corporation? If the answer is everything I have, then $1,500 isn't expensive. It's an investment in something far more valuable than money, your sovereignty. And here's the best part. Once you've made that investment, you never pay again for access to your own AI. No monthly phase, no subscription traps, just your system, your models, your rules forever. Section 1.5, the operating system layer where your software lives matters. Most people use Windows without thinking about what that means for their sovereignty. Windows is not neutral software. It's Microsoft's infrastructure, designed to serve Microsoft's interests first. Telemetry, Windows constantly sends data back to Microsoft servers. What you do, what apps you run, how long you use them, even fragments of your activity. Forced updates, you don't control when updates happen. They can install at inconvenient times, break your setup, or change features without consent. Backdoor access, Microsoft maintains administrative access to Windows systems. In theory and sometimes in practice, they can reach into your machine with legal process or security claims. Deep cloud integration, Windows is designed to push you toward Microsoft's cloud services. OneDrive, Azure, Copilot. The more you use it, the more you're locked into their ecosystem. When you run AI on Windows, even local AI, you're running it on infrastructure owned by a corporation whose primary goal is profit and data collection. The AI might be local, but the OS underneath is not neutral. Linux means open source sovereignty. Now consider Linux, open source operating systems like Ubuntu, Mint, Fedora, or specialized privacy distributions. No telemetry, nothing leaves your computer unless you choose to send it. You control updates, you decide when and what to update. No forced changes. Transparent code, every line of code is visible. No hidden backdoors unless you introduce them. No corporate ownership, Linux belongs to the community, not a single company. Linux is as close to neutral software infrastructure as exists today. It doesn't serve corporate interests, it serves you. Why people fear Linux? I hear this all the time. Linux is too complicated. I'm not technical enough. What if I break something? It takes too long to set up. Yes, traditionally, Linux required more technical knowledge than Windows. And yes, setting it up used to be intimidating for non-technical people. But that's changing fast. The AI assistant solution, delegate system configuration to your sovereign agent. Here's the breakthrough most people don't see coming. You don't need to be technical anymore when you have a local AI agent who is technical. Think about it this way: you install Linux once with guidance. Then you delegate system configuration to your AI assistant. Help me configure this audio driver for voice input. Agent reads documentation, runs commands, verifies results. Install these security packages and harden the system. Agent handles dependencies, updates firewall rules. Set up encrypted external storage for my memories. Agent creates Lux volumes, mounts them, configures open source software for long-term memory. The barrier disappears when you have a sovereign assistant guiding you through it. You're not doing the technical work. Your AI is. And because your AI runs locally on your hardware with no external connections, there's no telemetry, no backdoor access, no corporate surveillance. This is the future. Non-technical users can maintain sovereign systems because their local AI handles the complexity for them. The critical security boundary: fresh install only. But here's the important catch, and it's non-negotiable. Your agent will have access to everything on the disk. When your AI assistant helps you configure software, install drivers, manage files, or run system commands, it needs root or sudo privileges. It can read any file on the machine. It can write anywhere. It has complete access. This means if you install Linux on a computer you're already using for personal life, your agent could potentially access your emails, saved passwords, financial documents, photos, and everything else stored there. If that's acceptable to you, okay. But you've chosen convenience over full sovereignty, probably not fully understanding the trade-off. If that's not acceptable, and you want full security for yourself, then this machine must be fresh install only. No highly personal data ever stored here. The safe approach: dedicated sovereign workspace. Here's the recommendation for anyone serious about local AI sovereignty. Start with a fresh Linux install on dedicated hardware or a virtual machine if you're testing. Do not store any personal data on this system. No email clients accessing your accounts. No saved passwords or credit card information. No personal documents, photos, or family files. Use separate machines for personal life. Your phone stays personal, or use a separate privacy-focused device. Your primary computer remains separate from your AI workspace. This machine becomes your sovereign workspace only. When you need to work on something personal, use your regular computer or phone. Then come back to the sovereign workspace for AI-assisted work that requires full system access. If this is too much for you at this moment, stay at LM Studio level for now. I want to be crystal clear about this, because many people will feel overwhelmed by what I'm describing. If you can't maintain these boundaries right now, that's okay. You have another option. You can use LM Studio only, covered in Chapter 3. Install LM Studio on your regular computer, Windows, or Linux. Download and run local AI models for chat and analysis. No agent setup, no system-level access required. Conversations stay private on your machine, but you're not giving the AI full disk access. This is still a huge improvement over cloud AI. Your conversations don't leave your computer. You maintain basic privacy. And you can do this without fresh installs or dedicated hardware. The choice is yours. LM Studio only, good enough for basic local chat, no agent setup required. Full agentic system with Linux, complete sovereignty, but requires clean installation and separation from personal data. There's no shame in starting with LM Studio. Many people will. But if you want the full personal artificial assistant experience, an AI that can help you configure your entire system, manage files, install software, then you need to understand the security boundaries first. Sovereignty requires boundaries. If you can't maintain them, don't start. Better safe than sorry. Section 1.6. The hard truth about agentic systems. Let me be brutally honest about something that most AI companies won't admit. Local agentic systems require complete system access to be useful. When you want an AI assistant that can install software, needs sudo or root access. Configure services, needs system-level permissions. Manage files across your entire disk, needs read and write everywhere. Debug problems, needs access to logs, configuration files, system state. Your agent will have the ability to do anything on your machine. This is not a bug. This is a feature. That's what makes it an agent instead of just a chatbot. it can actually do things in the real world, or at least on your computer. The risk: your agent can access everything. Here's the hard truth that most people refuse to face until something goes wrong. If you're running this agentic system on your daily computer with personal data, your agent can access everything: email clients and saved passwords, financial documents and credit card information, personal photos, family files, private journals, browser history and stored credentials, any file on the disk with pseudo privileges. And if you give your agent instructions like, "Help me organize my files," install this software from that download link, search for information about X in my documents, your agent will comply. It can read, write, delete, and modify anything on the machine. Because that's what agents do, they have access to the entire system. The safe approach: fresh install, no personal data. So how do you use agentic systems safely? Answer: start with a fresh install on clean hardware. Before you ever install an agentic AI system, wipe the disk completely or use brand new hardware. Install Linux from scratch, no existing data to worry about. Set up your sovereign workspace, only tools for AI work, nothing personal. Keep personal data on separate machines, phone, other computer. This ensures that your agent has full access to the system, as it should. But there's no personal data on that system for it to accidentally expose or misuse. You maintain a clean boundary between sovereign workspace and personal life, sharing personal data at your own pace. Now here's where your judgment comes in. At some point, you might want to share personal data with your agent. Maybe you need help organizing family documents, or analyzing medical records, or managing financial planning. That's your choice, not mine, not the software's. But when you make that choice, understand what it means. You're allowing your agent access to sensitive information. You're trusting the system and yourself with that data. You're accepting the risk that if anything goes wrong, that data could be exposed. The key is, make this choice consciously, not accidentally. Don't install an agentic AI on a computer you're already using for personal life and assume everything will be fine. Understand what you're doing first. Then decide, yes, I'm ready to share some personal data with my agent. Proceed carefully. Or no, not yet. I want to keep this workspace clean for now. Stick with LM Studio only. If you can't handle this, stay at LM Studio level. Here's the bottom line that many people will find liberating once they hear it. If you're not ready to maintain these boundaries, if the idea of giving an AI full system access makes you uncomfortable, then don't do it. You can still benefit from local AI without going full agent mode. Use LM Studio only, download models, run conversations locally. No system-level access required. Your data stays private on your machine. You get the benefits of sovereignty, no cloud tracking, without the complexity of full agentic systems. There's no shame in this. In fact, it's smart. Many people will start with LM Studio, get comfortable with local AI, and then decide later if they want to upgrade to full agent capabilities. The choice is yours. Sovereignty isn't about following a rigid path. It's about making conscious decisions based on your comfort level and your values. The choice: convenience versus sovereignty. Let me be clear about what you're deciding between. Cloud AI gives you convenience, no setup required, but costs complete sovereignty, privacy, legal protection. LM Studio only gives you local chat and basic privacy, but limits full system access and agent capabilities. Full agentic system gives you maximum capability and complete control, but requires fresh install, separation from personal data, conscious boundary management. None of these is wrong. They're just different trade-offs based on what you value most right now. But here's the thing: once you've experienced true sovereignty, knowing your inner life belongs entirely to you, not a corporation or government, it's hard to go back. That's why I'm writing this guide. Not to convince everyone to do everything at once, but to show you what's possible when you choose sovereignty over convenience. I let you decide where on that spectrum makes sense for your life right now. Chapter summary: what you've learned so far. In this chapter, we covered a lot of ground. Let me recap the key points. 1. Cloud AI is not private. Your conversations are stored indefinitely, potentially reviewed by humans, used to train models, and accessible to government agencies with legal process. 2. Legal time bombs exist. Laws that don't exist today could make your current cloud AI conversations criminal evidence tomorrow. Data permanence equals future liability. 3. Spiritual fragmentation is real. When part of your inner life lives on external servers, you create fragmented consciousness and lose sacred space. 4. Financial costs are hidden. You pay $3,000 to $16,800 over 5 years for cloud AI subscriptions alone, plus the priceless cost of lost sovereignty. 5. Operating system matters. Windows equals big tech infrastructure with telemetry. Linux equals open source sovereignty. AI assistants can help you manage Linux even if you're not technical. 6. Agentic systems require full access. Your agent can read and write anywhere on the disk. Use only on fresh installs with no personal data, or stick to LM Studio-only mode if you're not ready for this level of control. 7. The choice is yours. Sovereignty requires boundaries. If you can't maintain them, that's okay. Start with LM Studio and build up when you're ready. Reflection exercise. Where does your inner life live? Before moving to Chapter 2, take a moment to reflect on these questions. No need to write down answers, just think about them. 1. Where do your deepest spiritual questions currently live? In your mind and heart only. In cloud-based AI or journal apps. On shared computers with personal data. 2. What would it feel like to have complete sovereignty over your inner life? Knowing nothing leaves your physical space without your explicit permission. Understanding that no government or corporation can access your private inquiries. Feeling the difference between rented tools and owned systems. 3. Are you ready for the next step? If yes, keep reading. We're about to explore how AI neutrality works in Chapter 2. If not, that's okay. Come back when you feel ready. Sovereignty is a journey, not a race. What's next? Chapter 2, AI is neutral. Control determines outcome. In the next chapter, we'll dive into something fundamental that most people misunderstand about AI. AI is neutral, like a tool or a weapon. The tool itself doesn't determine good or bad outcomes. Control does. We'll explore why big tech's values, profit and surveillance, conflict with your values, privacy and integrity. How cloud AI optimizes for engagement, not truth or well-being. Why you cannot align an AI to your values if you don't control its training data or memory. The difference between renting a tool and owning it, and why that matters for sovereignty. But first, take a breath. You've just learned basics about cloud versus local AI. Think about everything, and when you're ready for the next step, come back. The real work begins next.